Excelcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Excelcast. I'm your host, Joe Parker, and today I have Lauren Gerula. Lauren, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Happy to be here.
I'm good. So if you just want to get started by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I am 22 years old. I am from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but I am currently living in a little village called Red Lodge in England. I just graduated with my bachelor's in sports and health sciences, and I am currently working at a military base due to my husband being an active duty member in the U.S. Air Force, and I am a support aide at the high school.
Do you support specifically like sports and health sciences or like
Sadly,
how does that
no.
play a role?
But I do work with kids that have learning disabilities. So
Okay.
it's a little bit of a different career, but I'm basically like an extra aid for the teacher to help those who need like a little bit extra help on the side or just need help taking notes. Just kind of like an extra guide there for those who like need it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was it, being from Harrisburg and picking up and moving to England just kind of on a dime like that?
It was crazy. My first like big move ever was to Alaska, and that was like when I was 19, and I was there for like 2 years. So that was a thing in itself, but it was still the same country. But moving to like a whole different country, like your world just kind of like goes a whole like 180 mostly, and it's been cool. Like first like 6 months, I say we're like a little rough, just because you're trying to adjust to the people, trying to adjust to their culture. You don't know anything, and it's just a lot of change. If you don't like change, and I used to not like change at all, it was a bit overwhelming, but now I love it. The travel's great, people are great, so it's been good.
Yeah, the culture change I feel like would be a big thing overall. That and, missing your family, things like that, I'm sure was
Yes.
part of it was difficult for you. Um,
Yes.
how'd you get over that? Like how did you handle that situation?
Yeah. So when it comes to like missing family and friends, I stay in contact with most of them every single day. If not every single day, it's like at least once a month. I just try to learn to stay busy. Or if I did talk to my family or friends, I just like really engage with them. Try to keep my mind off of it, just see how their life is doing. Like, because hearing what they're doing back home kind of made me feel more comfortable and just kind of cured my homesickness because it's like, oh yeah, like, glad you're doing this, you're going there, I've been there before. But then
Mm,
like also just staying busy. Like I wanted to find a job as quick as I can. I was doing schoolwork at the time we moved here, so that was keeping me busy. But the hardest part was just making new friends here because my
mm,
husband, he was moving here for his job. So he already had like a unit that he can just connect with. Whereas like spouses, like if you don't have a job right away, you're not making those connections unless you're putting yourself out there, getting a new job, going to like local, I don't know, grocery store, coffee
mm.
shop. That's like where you can make your connections if you're not working right away. But
Okay. Is there any sort of like for military spouses, like is there any sort of like group or organization on the base you guys live at?
yeah, so we don't live on base, we live off base, but the military does a really good job by getting us all connected. So there's a bunch of different group chats like on Facebook that actually my husband units puts like military spouses in. And
Mm,
if like when we first got here, we all talked and be like, if you need this, like go here, like what's the best grocery store? Where do you get your hair done? Like just like
mm,
little things to help you get started. That's also like that's great. They always do that. It's so welcoming. But it's like if you want to step outside the military and just like take a break, just do something different. That was a little bit more of a challenge, but I actually found that the local gym was
mm.
the best spot for me to find friends, and that's where I made like a lot of my new friends that I have here. So yeah,
Yeah,
they
because you guys share that, like you share a common interest, so that's something that the
yes,
gym can provide you no matter where you go.
yes,
You know that whoever's in the gym, they're there to get better and they have the same mindset, even though they may not have the same exact culture. But
yes.
having that culture blend, you guys can even share ideas and share different workouts. Have you learned any workouts since you've been there that you didn't know when you were here in the US?
I wouldn't say didn't know, but maybe different styles because the one gym I go to is like a bodybuilding based gym.
Mm.
And just like some of how like they set up their workouts, I say like a lot of them are, as much as they are built like bodybuilders, a lot of them focus on their like cardio and just making sure all around health is like going the way it should be. There's a lot of power lifters too, which I never did like powerlifting before, but just seeing that like group of people and just how their work compared to like another person's like workout is, it's just really cool to see. But yeah, I'd say basically the same, but it's just more all around health focus, I'd say, instead of just one
Okay.
goal. Yeah.
When you were in the U.S., where did you go to the gym? Did you go to a Planet Fitness?
So I did. I for the longest
Yeah.
time I
Okay.
did go to Planet Fitness, yeah. And then I
Yeah.
did go to it was called it's Five Bridges now, so Gold's Gym. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know
those
you're.
were that was like when I was home, I felt so uncomfortable at the gym. So like Planet Fitness I felt more comfortable at, but now I've grown into being comfortable in the gym so I can go to like the smaller gyms where I know like I can go do this, go do that on my own and not feel judged or like anxious about the gym.
Mm.
So I like the tighter knit gyms now instead of like a big commercial gym where like there's too many people, no one can look at you.
Well, so you said that you were more uncomfortable at Planet Fitness than you are
Yeah.
now. Why
Yeah.
is that?
I
Why do
don't
you
know.
think that was?
I when I was back home, which you think would be like vice versa, like I always
Yeah.
dealt with like anxiety. I don't know, like I was so anxious and I just didn't know how to deal with it. So like being at Planet
Mm.
Fitness, I felt like I could hide because it's such a big place. If you go to like this like the corner of the gym, you can just hide a little bit. Whereas like here, you're in a small gym as it is. You know everybody. Like everyone knows you. You know them. Like you're all like
Yeah.
I just had to grow into that, which I did over the past years, just being comfortable with going to the gym. And then, yeah.
Yeah, it would force you to lean into that anxious mindset rather than running
Yes,
away from it, not speaking to
exactly.
anyone. You're like, well,
Hmm.
it's just me and the guy at the counter right now, so I
Yeah.
guess I have to say at least say hello and maybe say something
Yes.
else other than that to him. Um, yeah, because like people who gather in small places like that, it allows for that intimacy because
Hmm.
you can't hide in the corner. There's not a whole bunch of other people for everyone to look at. So,
Nope.
do you think that played a role in helping you get over your anxiety?
For sure. Because like you made a great point. Like Planet Fitness, for example, I was hiding. Like I could just go into my own area, not move a lot. But when I came here, I was kind of forced to make friends, forced to make those connections. Being in such a small gym, you don't know where everything is, or like there are a couple of different machines here that I never used. And I'm like, what's
Mm,
going on here? So then it pushes you to start talking to people. And that's how I did create those connections and now friends at the gym because one little thing, hey, can you help me with this? I don't know how to use it, to, oh, I see you next week. Like, have a great workout. I'll talk to you later. It's just getting that for like familiarity with them really helped me open up and be like, oh, you know what? This isn't that scary. Like, no big deal.
no, yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you found that when you moved to England, and I really think that the gym is huge. The gym is
Yes.
especially for me, like if I remember me and my family, we went to Key West, and I didn't really, not that I didn't know anything because we were still like in the US, we were in Florida,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I immediately gravitated to the gym. I talked to people at the gym. Like I didn't really, I mean, I talked to my family obviously and everything, but I didn't really talk to
Yeah.
anyone unless I was at the gym. So
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, that also plays a huge role in making connections. If you move
For
anywhere,
sure.
let alone across the Atlantic to England, that's huge as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a great place for anyone to start if they're looking
Yeah.
to get within their community when they first move.
Exactly.
Speaking of community, on the military base, are you a teacher on the military base itself?
So I'm not a teacher, I'm just a support aide, but I am working on the military base.
Okay.
So
All right.
with I work with a lot of Americans, of
Mm.
course, because we're on military. Of course, we do still have locals, so we do have a lot of like Brits that do work on the base as well. But I'm mostly just with Americans.
Okay. So, how is there any difference to being an aide in on a military base versus not on a military base? I don't know if you know that at all or if you've had any experience on
Um,
both ends.
I don't have experience, but just talking and associating myself with the other teachers and just the kids are they grow up like in a different like structured mindset because you have these kids that are moving every 3 to 4 years, so they
Mm,
know a lot about change. They know that they're there to get their work done. They try to make friends, but they know like 3 years I'm going to be leaving. I'm not even going to graduate with the same people I grew up with, like stuff like that. They say, I think it's schools on military bases are kind of more tight knit because
mm,
there's one, they're smaller, and two, like you're all going through the same thing and you can bond over. We're constantly traveling, constantly meeting new people. This isn't my home. Like it is your home, but you weren't born here. Um,
yeah.
so they always do talk about that. It's like a lot. They're more united, um, and like you talk to everybody. Everybody knows each other outside of the school because you all basically live right near each other. But
Yeah.
just from their experiences talking to them, like from working at like a public school in the States, way more kids, not as tight knit with the kids. You don't have that connection or that personal connection with them as much as they do on a military base.
Mm. And how do you as an aide help those kids through that? Like I know they're definitely strong-willed kids and
Yeah.
strong-minded kids, but you as, you know, as an aide or as a teacher, whichever, someone may be, you have to help them get over that and help them still have a childhood even though they're kind of forced to grow up a little bit. So how do you
Yeah.
go about that?
So whenever they're struggling, I always tell them it's the bigger picture, but you also want to enjoy the moment. Stop thinking in the future because you're always going to keep moving forward. But if you keep thinking like, oh, I'm going to leave in 2 years, oh, I'm going to leave in a year, or I'm leaving in 3 years, you're never going to enjoy what you got going on right now. So we always
Mm,
tell them, enjoy your senior year, enjoy your junior year, just enjoy it. Don't waste it. Have fun with your friends, make some memories, join the baseball team, join the wrestling team, and then just go on from there.
mm. How does prom look on a military base? Is there like
um, Small. They
Yeah.
usually their prom they did here, it was like in their school gymnasium, but they like made it all nice and cute. But it's very small. They do different themes, of
Mm,
course, but it's just not like you go to a different like hotel area that's like in a ballroom, or like how Bishop McDevitt, like they did it like in a hotel
yeah.
and like that grand room or whatever. It's just at their school and it's just not as many people. But they still have homecoming court. They do like their own thing with that. And yeah, they still have a prom. It's just small.
Mm. How many kids like average per class usually? Like
So that varies. I'd say probably like 15 to 20.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, they're
I was
really not
thinking like
big.
I was thinking like half a homecoming court. Like I have no concept of how many kids, but yeah, okay. That makes
Yeah, it's not
makes a
too
little
bad.
more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Some
so that's it.
so are sports the same way and who do they compete against when it
Yeah,
comes to
so
sport?
that's the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
you know how like in sports, like at our schools in the States, you're usually just traveling to like in your district, right?
Yeah.
These kids travel to like Germany, most of the time
Mhm.
to Germany, or they'll travel to Italy, or yeah, those are mostly the two like main places they go to. But they'll play like they miss school a lot. So for example, like we had the football team go, I think it was last weekend, to Germany. They miss school Thursday, Friday. They play Friday, like they leave Wednesday night. It takes them forever to travel because they don't fly. They take a
Mm.
bus and a ferry, and then they get to their school that they're playing like on Friday, and then they leave Saturday, and they usually come back by Saturday or Sunday, and then they go to school.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty
So
it's pretty crazy because like the coaches travel with them too, and then they have this thing called Euros, which is like their playoffs kind of, and like or championships.
yeah.
But the downfall is there's not that many schools around in like the Europe area for like where a lot of the bases are.
Mm.
So that's why they mainly play a lot of schools in Germany or like maybe Italy.
Okay. So are they playing other military bases or just other
Yes,
high schools that
yeah.
are
So
okay?
other military, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, so what does that look like, you being a teacher's aide from like supporting them? Because missing half a week of class every week, really only being in class Monday and Tuesday for the most part, how do you help them get through that? And have you ever witnessed anyone that's really struggled with that?
Oh yeah, I think particularly the kids that I'm with, because some of the kids that do play sports have some type of learning disability, whether that being just like ADHD or
Mm.
dyslexia, any of those. We really just have to preach to them like time management. They get
Yeah.
overwhelmed, of course, because they're not used to it, especially if they're just starting sports. We have to kind of teach them time management is key. They do all have laptops and they usually get to take them home. So they like we usually sign assignments that way and be like, just do this on the bus. You have Wi-Fi, just do it like this. And if they
Mm.
get behind, they do have a rule like if you're failing two classes, you can't play. So
Yeah.
that's like another thing that kind of motivates them. But mostly time management. We try to get as much done as I can in school while I'm there with them. Be like, can we go take a quiz during this class? We have study hall this period. Let's go study and take the quiz or go see this teacher, see what you missed. It's basically just time managing and just scheduling out for them. Just be like, this is when you leave. This is when we should get it done. Let's get it done before you go if we can. If not, let's try and get it done while you're traveling because they have like almost sometimes like 22 hours of travel.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially for kids who are already traveling every 3 or 4 years
Mm-hmm.
to, they're traveling like that, their homes. And then while they're in their temporary homes, they're also traveling every weekend,
Yeah, it's a
which,
lot. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a lot. But
def-
yeah, it's cool to see how they adjust though, because they do. I mean, it's either they do it or they don't. Because if they don't, then they can't play. But a lot of them want to go to college and play sports, so they just have a different season than other kids do in the states.
yeah. Has any of this inspired you at all? Because it sounds like just witnessing, what they do would have an impact on me. So is there an impact on you at all?
I think with the kids I work with, they inspire me just because they work so hard and sometimes they don't always get the outcome. And sometimes I feel like just anyone being a high school kid, they always feel like they're like looked at differently just because of what they have, like some type of learning disability. But then they show that if I work hard, I can still get what I need to get done. Just might need an extra adjustment or two, which they're learning that hey, it's okay. Not everyone learns the same, and
Yeah.
they take that in consideration and they move forward, which that's really cool to watch them grow as a person too, because they have all these other factors going on with their life, like not being with like all the friends that they always have, like back in the states. Like a lot of them do move from the states to another country, so they're experiencing the same thing that I did, and I'm like, you're so much younger than me, and you're going through this. Like, good for you. Like, I'm glad. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Have you noticed like which age is the worst for moving? Like what age like you see more of a pushback from a teacher's aide perspective?
I would say I'd say between a freshman or a senior because it could go either way. Freshmen,
Mm.
they're so upset because they're in a new place and they feel so scared and they're already starting a new like high school. Like that's already intimidating in itself at that age. But then to also move to a different place and not know anybody, that's
Mm.
hard in itself. And they're just sometimes they just don't want to do the work. They shut down. They're not responsive to teachers or aides because they're just shut down. They're just too frustrated and they're just too scared. And then there's the other spectrum where you have your seniors who are probably at another high school that they don't have any of their senior friends with them. They had to make new friends and they're graduating from a school that they just got there a year ago.
Mm.
So there's two different spectrums to it because you're the senior, you're about to graduate, but you're not with any of the friends that you grew up with. And a freshman, you're a whole new place, whole new setting, whole new type of school day, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. Definitely it's an interesting perspective
Yeah.
because you would think, or I would think anyway, that a freshman coming in to high school like that wouldn't be as bad as a senior. But that just may
Mm-hmm.
be me. Like if I was a freshman, I was like, okay, like it's kind of already new anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's not that bad. But having a being a senior, having 3 years of you growing up with your friends are talking about senior week, they're talking about prom,
Yeah.
they're talking about going to college together in the next year, and then your parent gets the call that you guys have to move,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time you may even become angry with your parents.
Yes. Yep.
Have you noticed any of that?
I noticed a lot of kids that have parents who've been in for a long time just kind of be over it. And I know a lot of kids, if they have family back home, they'll try and go live with family back home because they
Mm.
want that normalcy. Like, for example, here you can't get your driver's license unless you're 17.
Wow.
So a
Okay.
lot of the kids from the school that are juniors or like end of sophomores, they don't have their license because they're not 17. Like, you have to turn 17 to take the test. And I think a lot of kids just want some normalcy just because they see a lot of their friends from the States and they think that's normal because that's where they grew up, right? So coming here, they're just like, this is all too different. I want to go back home. Like, I know two students, they're twin sisters. One's here and one's at the States because she didn't want to come back. So she's living with her
Yeah.
family because she was just, this wasn't for her. So I think a lot of the times the kids are just kind of like, I wish I had a normal life and didn't have to move everywhere. But it happens and they adjust. And I think down the road they'll be like, you know what, I'm thankful because I got to go through a lot of different places in Europe where a lot of kids my age didn't do, you know?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of moving, what you have to have a level of confidence in what you're doing when you move. So, what gave you the strength to be like, okay, like this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm moving. I'm leaving
Yeah.
Harrisburg. I'm going to Alaska, and then from Alaska, I'm leaving the U.S. I'm going to England. How was that
Yeah.
whole process, and what gave you the strength to do that?
Honestly, so when I moved to Alaska, I wasn't sure I was even moving there. I was just going for the summer just to be somewhere different because I never really lived anywhere than Harrisburg. I just never
Yeah,
did. And I went there and then I saw how much like growing for myself I needed to do and like just to have me there with my husband, boyfriend at the time, just to see like, oh, I'm by myself. Like I need to figure out what I need to do. I need to take care of myself. I need to be a big girl. I need to find a job and what do I want to do with my career? I think once I was there and I started to see that in myself and I was like almost like not that my home didn't make me happy, but I felt happier because I was growing into a direction
yeah,
that I was proud of. So once I saw that I was growing in Alaska, that's where I came to the point and I had a conversation with my boyfriend, husband now. I want to stay out here. I want to see where this goes for both our relationship and for myself because I loved seeing myself grow there. Um, it sucked because I was away from my friends, my family, all that I knew. But once I saw the benefits of it, I was like, I need to see this out. Um, and that's kind of what motivated me. So then when I knew when me and my husband, we were like, you know what, we're also going to be probably married down the road. Let's get married. This was my person. I knew it. Got married. And then we found out our orders were to England. And I was like, you know what? If I can move to a different state, I can move to a different country because yeah, it's a different country, but it's the same steps. You still have to find another job, make new friends, embrace the community, and you'll be fine. And so I think just seeing that positive reinforcement from my own self and just building that strength with my relationship and myself, it really just made a difference.
yeah. I mean, you personally, when you were going through that, you had to lean into that anxiety and lean
Yes.
into that fear and conquer both of those.
Yes.
Because that initially, and maybe not even initially, maybe initially you're like enthusiastic about it. Like you feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then as the days go by, you start thinking about it and start thinking about, well, what are the negatives? Because when something's exciting, you initially think of all the positives, right? And then
Yes.
you start thinking of all the negatives. And when all those negatives start to creep in, you have to counterbalance them with the positives, or even think to yourself, why am I feeling like that? Like what is the root cause of why I'm feeling afraid?
Mm.
And can I get over that? And if you never
Yeah.
lean into that, you're never going to be able to figure that out.
100%. And I'm not gonna say it was all rainbows and butterflies when I first moved, because it wasn't. Like, that's where honestly a lot of my anxiety stemmed from, because I was experiencing so much new change at once, and it became
Mm,
so overwhelming. And I just didn't know how to get that outlet out of how do I deal with my anxiety? What do I do? And I shut down for a little bit, and thankfully for my friends, my family, and like my husband, they pulled me out of it and was like, listen, like either you get help or you figure out how do you release this anxiety, this stress, and move forward. And that's what I did, and I grew from that. And then that's what made everything so much better, because I was able to get over that anxiety, embrace it, learn how to deal with it, and move forward.
yeah, what role did the gym play in releasing that anxiety for you?
So, it's so funny because the gym, like I said, was an anxious place for me. And
Mm,
then I had to learn how to build that relationship where the gym was actually what's going to help me the most. Because I started going to the gym while during this time where I had really bad anxiety, and I started to resent the gym because I felt more anxious going there because I was around more people.
mm,
But then once I really dug myself into going to the gym consistently, I realized, wow, my mood is so much better. My mental health is way better. This is something I need to keep consistent within my life, because if I don't, then I'm going to go back to the old ways, and I don't want to do that. So learning how to use the gym the right way and make that relationship positive, it was so nice. It was like life changing, because like now if I'm anxious a day, go to the gym. If I'm having a bad day, like go to the gym. If I need a smile, just go to the gym, because then it's a good release. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a huge advocate for the gym. Like your mind, body, and spirit are all aligned, and
Yes.
they all are connected. So whenever you go to the gym, you're doing something that is tangibly making you better. You
Yeah.
can feel that you're doing something to make you better, whether that be strength training, cardio,
Hmm.
it's a physical release. So whenever, because like when you do mental and like emotional stuff, I feel like that's harder to
Yeah.
just focus on that. You could do things like meditation, people do,
Right.
reading,
Yep.
that people say that those two things are really good, writing, journaling,
Yeah.
things like that.
Journaling. Yep.
So everyone has their preferences, but I feel like for me, it's always been the gym. Whenever I
Yeah.
leave the gym, I feel better, and maybe that's because the gym's harder than just journaling or writing down for me,
Yeah.
because I can sit here and write if I want to. Not saying it would be constructive, but you can
No.
write.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with the gym.
100%.
You can go to the gym. It doesn't mean that you're working out, but
Yeah.
I just feel like for me, that physical portion is definitely more tangible, and you can realize that you're making a change and making progress.
100%. Because you're making that step forward. Because you can
Yeah.
make that step forward with meditation and journaling, but going to the gym, you're like, I'm taking my first step into the right direction, and I'm not going backwards.
Yeah. And I feel like we all have it's all starting with something. Like we all have that
Mhm.
something. And the gym is a good place because you build that community. Like you're talking
Mhm.
about, there's people there that are on the same path as you and they have the same goals as you.
Exactly.
You don't really get that with meditation,
No.
journaling, and reading. You're all
Yeah.
by yourself.
That's all like self love right there. But
Yeah,
if you need that bonding, yeah, I think
yeah,
the gym is a great spot.
absolutely. Yeah, I know for me personally, when I first started like going to the gym a lot, there was someone who worked at the front counter and every day like they would say hi to me
Hmm.
and when I would leave they would say bye to me. And it was just like a quick like 1 minute conversation, like if that,
Yeah.
but it did keep me like going and like one day I missed yeah, it was one day I missed and they were like, "Yo, where were you? Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, I did not think that I was like, not like a big part of your day, but you were like probably sitting here like, "Yo, where's he at? Like, what is he?
Yeah.
What's going on?" So that was pretty cool to see that you matter to like those people that are at the gym too, and having
Exactly.
a community that cares about you like that is really important. I think for everyone. Oh,
Yes. Like you
yeah.
said, like the gym, everyone has that one thing that they're either going through, they're trying to get over, who knows what, but that's what all connects us because we're all trying to get to that end goal, whether that be strength, losing weight, just better mental health, just to go to the gym. You're all there to help one another, lean on one another, whether that be whatever it is, but you're all like there for each other, keeping you like accountable too, almost.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a community that's like, hey, like haven't seen you in a little bit,
Yeah.
where have you
Where you
been?
been?
You
Yep.
know what I mean? You're like, wow, I guess I gotta come back tomorrow then, I
Yep.
guess.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So Laura, do you have any plans with your sports and health sciences degree?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Just a matter of time of like putting it to use. Um, so I go back and forth. My dream, honestly, was to be an occupational therapist.
Okay.
I loved it. One of my cousins is, and I just love the fact of helping people. So you would really be helping those who need to like regain their function, like primary functions, motor skills, whatever that could be. Um, but now that I'm starting to learn more about the gym and be more educated with it, because I'm still learning a lot with utilizing the gym with my degree also. So I also could possibly see myself being like athletic trainer.
Mm,
It just all depends. What since I just graduated here, I've been looking for jobs that would utilize my career.
mm,
Um, but sometimes it's hard when you're overseas, and if you're not working on base, you're going to work off base. But sometimes off base doesn't have the best pay. It's not going to meet your standards that you need to like financially support yourself.
mm.
Um, but I do hope, like, wherever next place we go to, or if I see an opportunity come up soon, um, I would like to do either occupational therapy or athletic trainer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Occupational therapy. What is that? Now, I know you said like restoring basic function, but is it like people who get hurt on the job specifically, or is it just like
So
basic
it can
therapy?
kind of be anything. So you'd be working in the hospital, and it'd be those who like come out of a surgery, who had a stroke. So say like yeah, someone had a stroke and they lost like motor skills or the mobility on like the right side of their body. You're trying to regain that function back and just kind of rebuild
Mm,
those muscles. Or the same as like if they got like a injured wrist and they had a really bad surgery, you'd be still cleaning out like their sutures and like taking care and trying to get their mobility back. But then after you're done with the occupational therapist, you usually go to like a physical therapy where you're really starting to work the joints and get them stronger.
mm.
Usually, occupational therapists just kind of work at the basics after like the surgery or after the injury, and then push you forward.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's interesting. I've never heard of that, or if I have, I've never been you know, never dove into it in that sort of detail. So thank
Yeah,
you for explaining that.
I didn't know until I knew my family did, and I was like, oh, you know what? That sounds
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. Who in your family does that?
She's like a second cousin, so
Okay.
she does it.
Yeah.
She works in PA. I don't know if it's Pinnacle Health. I think it is Pinnacle Health, but she's an
Okay.
occupational therapist herself. Because there's occupational therapist assistants, occupational therapist. Because there was an assistant job here off base, but
Mm,
it just wasn't equivalent to what I was hoping for. Um,
okay.
but there are some opportunities opening up right now on base that I applied for, so fingers crossed.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the pay difference, do
Mm-hmm.
you like, is it like steep? Like base pay
It
is really
is.
higher than,
So
okay.
I don't know if you know this, but like the worth of a dollar is not as much as like the pound. Like technically
Yeah.
a US dollar here is not worth as much as a pound. So when you go, it's just the medical field wise, because what they use here is called NHS. And when I was looking for the pay for like occupational therapists themselves, they were only getting like maybe like 60,000 pounds a year, or like it was 40 to 60,000 pounds a year, which is only like equivalent to like 70 to 75 maybe. Um,
Mm,
70, yeah, 75,000 US dollars.
yeah.
Whereas in the States, they usually start at like 90 at the bare minimum and work their way up to like 120,000. So it's kind of a big difference, which is interesting because they have a lot of taxes here. That's just
Yeah.
how they are. I don't know. It's just the English way. um, but yeah, it was interesting to see the difference, the pay scale, because it is one of the things a lot of the locals talk about here is they just don't get paid as well as they would like to, like the medical field, which is so interesting. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I would think that they would get paid a decent wage, especially because of the high taxation that they have there. Are there like insane benefits, or like is there any
Um,
offset to it at all?
they have good benefits, I will say, that they give to their
Yeah.
employees, but like I don't see the benefits based off what I could get from being on base. I don't know if that's just being ignorant, but just from seeing what they offer, it was just like if I can get a better deal with working on base and like familiar, like just being with the hospital that I know I can get to all the time. Whereas they have different holidays than us, they don't celebrate the same like things, so I wouldn't be off the same time as my husband. So it's like all these counterparts you have to think about.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's different. It's they just have a different culture. I don't know. Like they get taxed for everything. Like they have a TV tax. Like who does TV tax?
There would be someone would overthrow the government over here
Yeah.
if there was a TV tax. That's
You have to get like a TV license to watch live TV here.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Different.
No, that's definitely a culture shock. Is there anything that they have over there that you guys have to implement on base, or is that like American soil? Like they can't do anything.
Not I can think of really.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
I'm trying to think. It's always fun when we talk about like football because football for them here is soccer, but American football, like football to us, is like American football.
Yeah, so you start
Um,
talking about football and they're like, what is she talking
yeah, we have to
about?
say American football because, and we
Okay.
can't say soccer. Like I have a
Oh,
couple locals, and they always make fun of me for saying soccer, and they're like, "It's football, like it's not soccer."
oh,
But
well, I hope that you get the job that you applied for. And that was an
thanks.
occupational therapy job.
So it was just in the medical field itself. So it starts off as a medical assistant, like a medical
Okay.
like technician assistant, and then
Okay.
you kind of can work your way up. But I was like, just get me into the medical field, and I can make those bridges with people. Like I can maybe shadow some occupational therapists, or just start talking. Um,
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm just working at the high school, which great job, great opportunity, but it's just not the career I want to pursue.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting your foot in the door is a huge thing,
Yes.
regardless of, where you're at and what you want to do. Because if you make those connections and you can only learn so much from an interview, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
have someone,
Yeah.
if you're there and you start like saying, "Oh, well, like this is how you do this is how you do that, this is that terminology," and even to an extent of like, I'm gonna go outside my job scope. I can help you out with this if you need help with it.
Mm-hmm.
That really turns some heads because when you add value to someone and when you add value to the workplace,
Yeah.
regardless of your qualifications, you're going to really push someone to want to promote you in house.
Exactly.
And that's how I would view the
Mhm.
environment anyway. That's how
Yeah.
I would like to eventually be if I was ever in a management position.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I think you have a good head on your shoulders, and I think that you really
Nice.
can make an impact if you get this job for
Well,
sure.
thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, are there any final words that you want to leave our audience with at all?
I can talk about embrace.
Embrace, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, talk about that.
So one of the words I wanted to bring towards the podcast was embrace, because I think
Yeah,
we can utilize that in any aspects of our life, no matter what it can be. Either embracing your anxiety, embracing a difficult change going on in your life, embracing a new career, embracing new relationships. I think it's important that if we don't embrace those and you turn your head, you're not going to move forward. You're going to keep pushing yourself back. You're not going to grow. But by embracing those challenges, that anxiety, that relationship, you're going to move forward. You're going to grow. So embrace everything that you can, new people, new culture, community, embrace everything that you can, because if you don't, you're not growing, you're not learning. And I've always learned that knowledge is power. So embrace opportunities, embrace people, because you learn from everyone too. New perspectives, new cultures, like I said. Um, but I've been trying to embrace more things with my life lately, and it's been very positive on my life. So that's what I would advise.
that's awesome, Lauren. That's good to hear. Couldn't have said it better myself.
You always have wise words. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, that was good. But thank you for coming on the show. I really
Yeah, of
appreciate
course.
it. I appreciate your time. I
Yeah,
appreciate all the knowledge that you've been able to share with us today.
yeah.
And for everyone at home, Follow us on Instagram at excelcast_. Follow us on TikTok at excelcast. We are on YouTube and Spotify at excelcast. And as always, stay blessed and excel.
Excelcast.